Hello, I'm Taj, digitally known as Tropic Vibes, the host of Nifty Business, where we highlight NFTs and explore Web 3.0 as we move from pure speculation to creating real-world value. What a crazy week it has been for football fans. Now, if you're like me, you like college football, you like professional football, this is just an exciting time. Some great upsets as far as college football and even in the NFL. This is week one. Tonight is Monday Night Football, of course, and all these crazy things are happening during the last week as far as the football world. But of course, this is not a podcast about the NFL. Although I like to say sports is the greatest reality television, you just never know what's going to happen. The interesting thing is the overlap between NFTs and sports. And one thing that I really found is an app for fantasy football by the name of Fantasia. And I wish I found this earlier because obviously, as I said, this is week one. So fantasy football, the drafts, everything has already taken place and we're already in week one. And I would have loved to use this application to be able to use it. Maybe I'll join a league late, but today we're going to discuss Fantasia and some interesting things that I discovered during this weekend. So as I was cruising around looking for some NFTs on the Solana ecosystem, as far as what was going on Magic Eden in particular, I know there's other marketplaces, but they have 95% of the volume. So I just surf on Magic Eden to see what's coming up. And I was surprised to see that Aaron Jones had a drop. And if you're not familiar with football, Aaron Jones is the running back for the Green Bay Packers, one of the premier franchises in the NFL, historical and so forth. And he has a partnership with Fantasia, which is that app that I just mentioned. They have the fantasy football Web3, and they also do NFTs. But the interesting thing with this drop is that it is a partnership with Aaron Jones, and this is not just using his name. He actually made a video for them, put out some content saying that his drop was coming and what have you. And if you're into sports cards or wherever into sports cards, maybe when you're younger, you collected some of these. This is a true digital collectible. This looks like a card that's in one of those grading cases. If you're familiar with the Beckett grading system, whether you've collected Pokemon cards, sports cards, or anything, the way the Beckett grading system is, it puts it in this plastic case and then it grades it on a rating based on how the edges are, how well it is centered when it came off of the factory line and so forth. And that is how the whole grading system, the hardcore card collectors, that is how they store their cards, get them graded, and they have them in these cases. Well, the NFT actually has a card looking image that is stored in one of these cases, is rotating, is a video and NFT. But the cool thing about it is it's featuring Aaron Jones, as I said, but it has some elements that's unique to Green Bay, but also his upbringing and his uproots. So where he's from, he is from El Paso in Texas. So this is a small school guy. He went to UTEP, the University of Texas, El Paso. That's where he played his college football, played 4 years there, and then he was drafted late in the 5th round and went to the Green Bay Packers, the historical franchise. But a lot of people don't realize that Green Bay is one of the smallest markets as far as sports teams in any North American league, because that town is very small. So what's going on there is a very unique feel of the stadium and everything. And it's just really interesting to see that this small town guy goes to a small school and is drafted in the 5th round, which is very late. If you're not familiar with the NFL draft, all 32 teams take turns selecting players on 7 rounds. So being selected in the 5th round is pretty late. And he becomes a star with this Green Bay Packers. And of course, the rest is history. He's been doing very well. He's an all-star, superstar, if you will. And this NFT drop is a digital collectible with his signature, and it has some images that encompasses a lot of all of this. First of all, it has some images from both Green Bay and also El Paso, where he's from. The interesting things that I like about the Green Bay, there is a street sign that says the distance to Phoenix, Arizona, and there's a Super Bowl sign because the Super Bowl this year will be in Phoenix, Arizona. And of course, any football player, anyone in the league, their ultimate goal is to get to the championship game. And for the NFL, it is the Super Bowl. So it shows how many miles it is to get there. So they're on the road to the Super Bowl. And this is one of the teams, as long as they have these cast of characters, they lost some people, really missed a golden opportunity last season. But of course, these are competitors and they really believe that they're still on the road to the Super Bowl. So I thought that was cool how they incorporated that. Then the other ones, they have different things. The background of Texas El Paso. He's very famous for having this green and yellow sombrero that he wears to the stadium and games, and just putting his personality in there. There's some rarer ones where he's like a superhero, kind of looks like Captain America, and some different elements. So both incorporating Green Bay and El Paso. Of course, his image is on there like a trading card, and some fun elements to it. Their emotion, their graphics, and I thought it was just very cool how they did that. And this is only 1,000 of these, and these are on sale for 1 Sol. The sale is actually still going on right now, and much to my surprise, they're less than half sold out, and that was very interesting to me because I then looked on the market and see that there's some actually of the rarer ones, the superhero looking ones, that are on sale for a fairly reasonable price. They're at 1.6 Sol, which is just above the mint price of 1 Sol, considering that, those are the rarer ones in the collection. But what I think it is that degens really try to buy into this thing, trying to get a quick flip. And because it is a longer hold, it's not really selling out. That is why some of the common ones are on sale for as cheap as 0.2, 0.3 Sol. And that's, $10, $9. But the rarer ones right now are 1.6 Sol. So you're talking about pushing up towards $50 or so at the point of recording this. So it's just very interesting to see how that is going. And as I said, this is a partnership with Fantasia. So when I was doing my research, I went over and clicked, because this is the first time I've heard about Fantasia, actually. Fantasia, spelled P-H-A-N-T-A-S-I-A, Fantasia. So I go over and I click, and the nice thing about with Magic Eden and everything, they have all their information, and you're able to just easily get access, find out about the project, go to the Twitter profile. And when I went on the Twitter profile, it is absolutely hilarious. They're making all sorts of memes about NFL games and everything, and I had to respond to one of them. I was like, this profile has to be stopped, because some of the stuff that they're putting up was absolutely hilarious. And I mean, they're making fun of bad throws and just really culturally relevant things. So it is cool to see that they definitely are a part of the whole meme culture. They are definitely into the NFL. And as I said, this whole thing started off with fantasy sports. They are a fantasy sports app that happens to have these NFT drops. And I'm not sure if this is the first one they've done, but this is the first one that I've seen. This is how they came on my radar as far as partnering with Aaron Jones. But with the fantasy sports app, they're trying to tackle the whole issues that you have with paid leagues. Now, I'm a part of one paid league right now, and the way that is actually distributed, we use an app called Sleeper, which till this day, I cannot figure how Sleeper keeps their lights on, because it is a free app to use. There is no advertising whatsoever, and this has really been growing. And of course, they have some growing pains, there's some hiccups and what have you, but I can't figure out how they keep their lights on, because there is no fees to actually use the app. And as far as the payouts and everything, that is through a third-party vaulting system that is doing all the payments. But there's some headaches over there, of course, using your debit card and connecting things up, and then sometimes the app is down. But the interesting thing with this, Fantasia, is they do everything using crypto. You can sign in with your Sol wallet, so Phantom or whatever. You can fund it with Sol, join the leagues, play, do all those things, and it's automatic. There is no need for commissioners to manually do payouts or anything, just as we're accustomed to with all these smart contracts and everything automatically being done. Well, this app is using it and connecting all of that stuff to the blockchain to pay out the winnings. So if you're not familiar with fantasy football and how the payouts work and all of that stuff, just really quick, you select players based on, at the beginning of the season, based on how well you think they're going to do. You take turns, and based on their performance in the real games, you then get points for it. So through the season, the 17, 18 weeks now, I forgot they added an extra week into the NFL season. Based on their performance in those weeks, you get points. So you're doing a head-to-head matchup, and at the end of the season, the ones with the most best picks, or I guess you would say, would be squared up in a championship game against each other, and then they do a ranking. You come in first, second, third, and then usually a percentage of all the entrance fees are given to those top 3 people. That's a simple rundown of how fantasy football works. Of course, there are lots of free leagues that are just for bragging rights, and that's the majority of them that I'm in. However, I just wanted to do a dynasty league when we're doing, continuity, people paying into it. And that fee is just a way to really make sure that guys are committed and want to be there. Because a lot of these free leagues, what ends up happening is if your team is not starting off very well, or your quarterback gets hurt or something crazy like that, then a lot of guys just stop playing. They just neglect the team, stop making their updates, and the team ends up tanking. So these paid leagues is a way to have guys and gals that are invested into the game and they want to really continue, because as I said, that is a huge problem with the free ones, that people just don't have skin in the game. So as soon as their team doesn't do so well, then they just fall off. But I can tell you multiple times I've been in leagues where I was doing horrible for the entire season, end up in the playoffs, and even get to the championship game or third place or whatever it might be. And I can even think of in the real life, there have been teams that done absolutely horrible and they went in and knocked off the champion from the year before once they made the playoffs. So you never know what's going to happen. But anyways, going back to Web3 and NFTs and all this stuff, I just think it is a very cool solution for a real world problem that they're doing with the blockchain technology, crypto, making things a lot easier. They're solving these problems and using this technology and combining it. But as I've said, if you might be new to the show, that there's a huge overlap actually between sports fans and in particular fantasy players and then the crypto world, because for whatever reason, those personality types, those types of people tend to gravitate and there's a huge mesh. Now, of course, not every single person in crypto likes sports and not every person in sports likes crypto, but as far as the NFT markets, that's why there's a lot of overlap. So you have platforms like Autograph, which has DraftKings in their fantasy platform, and they, of course, partnered with Tom Brady to launch Autograph and have all of those NFTs that they basically focus on legends over there. So we're talking about the Wayne Gretzky's, the Usain Bolts, the Tom Brady's and Tiger Woods of the world, Serena Williams, those types of people. But this is cool for Fantasia to actually have active players that are in the game, they're involved, and it's just pretty cool to see rather than waiting for, the legendary status of these people that are retired and, well past their prime, they're no longer playing, which is really interesting. Going back to that, I saw one for Tony Hawk and that was pretty cool. So if you're a kid growing up playing those Tony Hawk video games, it is just cool to see that Tony Hawk is still relevant culturally and he was there on the Autograph platform with Tony Hawk NFTs. But besides that, this whole thing is just very interesting to me, seeing the overlap. And I love sports. I love NFTs. I love technologies. And I would love to know, what are your thoughts on all of this? And are there any fantasy apps that you are aware of that is using Web3 technology that is even better than this, or how this stuff is being integrated, solving real world problems for sports fans? Maybe it is something that you just stumbled on just like this. I literally was not looking for this and I just landed on this and I thought it was just very cool. So I'd love to hear. Please feel free to reach out to me at Tropic Vibes on Twitter. And as usual, I want to thank you for taking time to listen to this as we're learning and building Web3 together. So until next time, later. The Nifty Business Show is not investment advice. It provides insights and information within the space. As with anything, please do your own research before making a decision whether you're making an investment or a purchase.